Hey, Dr. White. I am Kristen Hoffman, and I am a sixth grade teacher at Larkspur Middle School. I teach sixth grade science, and believe it or not, well, I've been teaching for about 20 years, and this is my very, very first year ever having special education, which I know is very surprising. I taught elementary school for 9 years and always taught the gifted kids. I came here and I was in an Exceed program. I'm not sure if you're familiar what that is, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. And then I was in the Avid program. And this year, with my principal knowing that I am an aspiring leader, he put me in special education. At first, I was extremely concerned, a little taken back, but I can't say that it wasn't the best choice that he made. And I have learned so much from being in the special education world. So, as many of the people in my cohort, because it is very, very heavy on special education, I can't speak from years and years and years of special education, but what I can talk about are some of the points in chapter 3 that made me really, really think about the education world and how we can make it fair for everybody. And it has been a difficult ride for me. So my first 2 months of being a special education teacher, I thought I was going to lose my mind and taking these classes for my master's program on top of it, and I just couldn't figure it out. I couldn't figure out how to be the teacher that I needed to be. And I couldn't understand how people actually chose to be a special education teacher and not drink heavily at night, to say the least. It was a difficult task to just figure out how to make a difference in the special education world along with my general education population and give them all the attention that they needed. I felt like the biggest problem was that the parents of some of the kids that I would pair up the special education children with were a little bit annoyed that they were always helping out, but just being an SCA before and just being all about the kind world that we're trying to make, it just seems as though this was the perfect opportunity for me. Partnering these kids up with a special education child, I just saw amazing things. I started off by just bribing them with candy. If you help them out, I know that you have other work to do, and then it came to the fact that they just didn't want the treat. They wanted to help these kids. They wanted to make a difference in their life. They wanted the leadership skills that they were getting to help teach these kids, which was just making my job even better because I knew I was making a difference in everyone's lives. And the empathy that they showed for these kids was just unbelievable. I have a lot of rough kids in middle school that tend to not have any feelings towards anybody else. So to see them sit and have a role in the classroom of being a helper and a teacher and a guidance counselor was just amazing to me. You just saw a difference, and I really was choosing the children that you wouldn't normally choose to be the leaders. They were extremely smart, but just didn't want to behave and didn't want to do what they were asked to do on a daily basis. And when I made them these leaders, they just flourished. Another benefit was from being an Avid teacher. I know how repetition is very important. So when you're teaching another child about the content that and maybe not as well as being a teacher and saying it in your own words is just repetitive learning. and these kids were doing amazing on their quizzes and tests just because they were helping out the special education kids. Don't get me wrong, it's very challenging. I have everything from ED, just learning disabilities, Asperger's, you name it. So many accommodations that I have to remember in a day, and we are so low with help that I don't always have somebody in the room with me, so that is quite challenging as well. But now being in this for what, September, October, November, December, January, for almost 6 months, I actually figured out a way to make everybody in my classroom feel that the day is a beneficial day for everybody. And I designed what is called these stations. And it's not stations like you would use in an elementary school. It's more of, I have my objectives for the week, and I make lesson plans for the kids. They have 4 stations that they have to complete, and usually it's a 5-day assignment. I introduce it the first day, and they're put into separate stations, and then they move throughout the stations throughout the week based on their how fast or how slow they want to move. And if they complete it beforehand, I don't give them something else to work on, because nobody's going to want to work fast if they're going to get more work. So I give them fun and kind of challenging things that have to do with the content that we're learning, but it's fun stuff. And so this is a way that I could pull small groups with the special education kids. The rest of the general education population knows exactly what they're going to be doing the entire week, whether they're out sick, in ISS, or not paying attention. It's all on the page, so they just have to read their page and know what they're doing. So it allows me to make them independent learners, make them teach each other what things, because they're in a station together. They know how to be quiet, they know how to work together to solve problems, and it gives me so much time to either walk around and help certain kids within a group or within a station, or just pull a very, very small group to help them out. I did read something in the chapter where it talked about the looping team, which I think is kind of amazing if you're able to do that in your school's environment, especially because it takes so long to get to know what really makes these special education children tick, what really hits home with them, what makes them want to do the work that you have for them. And looping, I think, is an amazing idea. With it being my only first 5-6 months of special education, I know that a lot more collaboration is needed for me. The opportunities of just learning how to deal with some of these kids. I've never had any training. I was kind of just put into the ring and told me to fight. But again, it has made me an amazing, empathetic, caring, patient teacher. I don't think that I've ever been considered to be super patient, but for some reason, even having all of these special education children in my classroom has amazingly found my sense of patience that I never really knew that I had. So that is pretty much all I have as my reflection. Again, I couldn't relate to a lot of things that they were talking about because I've never really been in the situation. As far as the inclusion part goes, they don't do inclusion for science in my school, so I do get all the kids no matter what. I think it's a very difficult situation, especially when special education kids are in the classroom and are major disruptions. I had an emotionally disturbed child that is no longer with me, unfortunately, but it was taking up probably 25% of my classroom time just to either calm him down or to help him to get started working, or to stop him from antagonizing other students. And so in that aspect, it's very hard. I have so many ideas about how education should be set up for different kids, either with special abilities, whether it may be gifted or a special education thing or behavior problems or whatever it is. I think that I have so many ideas, but I can't even get into that. But also the problem is sometimes is not having the role models in the classroom to show these students how to behave. I think is part of the problem of my ideas that I have. But anyways, now I'm babbling, so I'm going to stop talking. But that is my reflection on chapter 3, and I will see you tonight. Thanks.